the king and queen of New York punk. Joey Ramone had a legendary unrequited crush on Debbie Harry. He wrote the classic Ramones song, "I Wanna Be Your Boyfriend," specifically for her. A rare, candid moment between two punk rock icons. The classic Jefferson Airplane lineup. New singer Grace Slick had just joined, and she brought two songs with her from her old band, The Great Society. Those songs, White Rabbit and Somebody to Love, became the anthems of a generation. Journey in '83, the biggest arena rock band in America. During the sessions for their album Frontiers, they recorded a song called Only the Young, but left it off. It later became an iconic hit after being featured in the movie Vision Quest. Amsterdam, 1967. Brown Eyed Girl was a hit, but due to a bitter contract dispute, Van Morrison was essentially in exile. It was in these quiet moments that he channeled his frustration into the material for his masterpiece, Astral Weeks. The Rocket Man in full flight. Elton John's famous piano handstand was a direct tribute to one of his heroes, the original wild man of rock, Jerry Lee Lewis. But Elton, in all his glitter and glam, took the move and made it legendary. The greatest and the matriarch of the blues. This was Zaire, 1974, during the massive music festival for the Rumble in the Jungle. In a quiet moment away from the chaos, two American icons, Muhammad Ali and Etta James, connect. Keith Richards and Ronnie Wood promoting their side project, The New Barbarians, in '79. The band was formed so Keith could fulfill a court order after a major drug bust. It was a chaotic, one-tour supergroup and a final, glorious binge for '70s rock. The Kings of Southern Rock. The secret to their power was the triple guitar assault of Collins, Rossington, and Ed King. Having three lead guitarists was almost unheard of at the time, and it created the signature sound that defined a genre. The night rock and roll history was made. This was the closing weekend of the legendary Fillmore East. The Allman Brothers played for free as a thank you, delivering a marathon set that ended as the sun rose over New York City. Iron Maiden during their colossal World Slavery Tour in 1984. The Blindfolds were a nod to the lyrics of 2 Minutes to Midnight. This record-breaking tour was so massive and grueling, it nearly destroyed the band, but it also made them legends. The ultimate rock and roll power couple, 1982. After Ozzy was fired from Black Sabbath, it was their manager's daughter, Sharon, who took him on. She defied her own father, resurrected Ozzy's career, and built one of music's great empires. Angus Young, a human lightning bolt, during AC/DC's first UK tour. His famous schoolboy uniform was his sister's idea. He'd already tried a gorilla suit and a Spider-Man costume before finding the signature look that would make him an icon. The effortlessly cool Paul Simonon, bassist for The Clash. While he looks calm here, he's the man responsible for one of rock's most iconic images, smashing this very model of bass guitar on the legendary cover of London Calling. The Stones in 1968, shooting photos for their masterpiece, Beggar's Banquet. The album was a raw return to their roots, but its release was delayed for months because their record label rejected the original toilet wall cover art as obscene. Bob Dylan and Patti Smith in 1975. This was during the legendary Rolling Thunder Review, a meeting of two generations of rock poets. Dylan was a fan of her work, a quiet acknowledgement from the master to the new voice of the streets. The genius and the prodigy. A 12-year-old Stevie Wonder meets his hero, Ray Charles, in 1962. Motown initially billed Stevie as the next Ray, but it wouldn't be long before the young master forged his own incredible, untouchable legacy. The face of 80s rock. But before he was a solo star, Billy Idol fronted the British punk band Generation X. He was smart enough to re-record one of his own songs, Dancing with Myself, which launched his career on MTV in America. This is Kiss, just before the kabuki. Soon, each member would create their own iconic character. Paul the Starchild, Gene the Demon, Ace the Spaceman, and Peter the Catman. They weren't just a band. They were becoming rock and roll superheroes. Pink Floyd's first and only American tour with Syd Barrett, 1967. What should have been a triumphant arrival was a disaster. Syd's erratic, often catatonic performances on this tour forced the band's hand, leading them to bring in David Gilmour soon after. A backstage summit of guitar slingers. In 1984, these three masters were at a crossroads. Dickie Betts was on hiatus from the Allman Brothers, Johnny Winter was having a major career revival, and Brian Setzer was leading the rockabilly revolution. The undisputed face of new wave punk. But before she was the iconic Debbie Harry, she was a waitress, a folk singer, and even a Playboy bunny. She paid her dues for years before changing the sound and style of rock and roll. The birth of a supergroup. This wasn't Woodstock. This was their first real tour. At their very first show in Chicago, Stephen Stills famously announced to the crowd, "This is the second time we've played in front of people. We're scared shitless." The king of punk hits the beach. This photo was actually taken in LA, not Coney Island. What many don't know is that the Ramones were massive Beach Boys fans, and that surf rock sound is the secret ingredient in their punk anthems.